What is going on, podcast family? Welcome back to Visionary Radio Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Avery. Thanks for being here. I want VRP to be a podcast for enlightenment, motivation, and inspiration for life's journey ahead. I truly believe that everyone has the superpower of vision. The true question is, who are you and what are you looking for? Welcome back again to another episode 5, season 4, or are we on season 3? I think we're on season 4. Anyways, we're on one of the seasons, and I want to appreciate you guys for coming back and tapping in with me. I know half of y'all are probably like, you're probably tapping in just to figure out what the hell this fool is talking about. The other half, hopefully, you're getting some motivation and inspiration and enlightenment. I know personally for me, whenever I get to talking, I say, or whenever I'm writing, I write down things that I didn't know was in the back of my damn head. So this is therapeutic for me, just to come here to talk about things and how personal issues that I may be experiencing, and then also speaking to some issues that I know that some people in the world may be experiencing. Again, we are season 3 or 4. I can't quite remember. Episode 5, I know that, and this is going to be a recap of the previous 4 episodes, and then I want to talk about moving forward. So, thanks for being here. I did want to come and allow this to be the first episode that we are going to be in your face, and I want to try to make this a habit moving forward. I know moving forward, I will have a bunch of guests, and this is how we will conduct most of our interviews. I'm working on getting uh, the uh, appropriate space and venue to have guests, so we can be live in the same space, sharing the same energy. But until then, this is going to have to do. Just a quick disclaimer before we get into the recap. I want to remind you guys that I'm not here to swear to you that you're gonna get enough advice to go and buy that house that you've been dreaming about. I'm not here to share with you any financial advice. I can't talk to you about how to improve your credit score. That's not what this is all about. I'm not here as a know-it-all, and I'm not here to give you any uh, medical advice. So take this disclaimer as it is, please. I will say that I am here to motivate and inspire and enlighten. So take that for what it is. I appreciate you guys again for pulling up. Don't want to spend too much of your time today. Again, this is just a recap and moving forward. So we got into the season. We started the season, and the whole season's premise is around transformation. I know there was a period in my life when I realized that I needed to make some changes, and I knew those changes were needed because I wasn't yielding any good results. I was having a difficult time holding up my lies and trying to be a dad. I was having a difficult time wanting things and good things for my family and myself while cutting corners. Uh, I realized there was this period that I realized that all I'm doing is bullshit myself. All I'm doing is lying to myself. I'm full of hope, full of dreams, but no action. Um, I was full of pointing the finger at what he or she has done to me, but failed to realize what I have done to cause some of the issues that I was experiencing. I needed a change for my life to happen, especially during the period of my severe drug use. Um, I needed transformation to happen. Now, whenever this transformation happened, I didn't realize it was happening. I didn't realize it was emotion. And for me, my transformation started at awareness. Um, I became aware of these issues well within my drug addiction. I mean, I would use drugs, and I would read different types of self-help books and educational books, and those books help formulate some understanding and some action steps. I can't remember if I read this from a psychology book or um, I can't remember where I got this concept of the process of identification when I was led to sit down and write out, things that I would like to see change in me, whether it be, the bullshitting and being more honest, whether it be, making plans and setting goals and being more fulfilling of those plans and goals and less, bullshit and less dishonoring of other people's time. There were things that I had to write down, whether the things that I heard the other people say about me or the things that I realized was going on within me. And so I wrote these things down well within my addiction, well during my use. And I want to say it was around 2012 or 13. And you fast forward, as I'm going through this process of identification, I'm still battling this severe drug addiction. I'm still doing these white lies and these big large lies, and still not being loyal and honorable to my wife and children. But there was something happening um, underneath all that. Whenever I was led to start that process of identification, it was the awareness piece, and I became aware of those things. I was able to write them down and actually see them. I was able to see where the flaws were, versus hear people complain about it, or seeing the results not yield any good results. So seeing those on paper, and then uh, before they manifested, it took a good time. They didn't fully manifest until almost 4.5 years ago, 4 years ago, when I was able to move and change my environment and become sober. But I will say it all starts with the transformation. You becoming aware, excuse me, it all starts with the awareness. Then that awareness piece evolves into that awakening. You're aware to the habits and the bad habits, the good and the bad. Um, and you become awakened to this new potential version of yourself once you see it on paper. You start thinking about this new potential person of yourself, uh, this new potential person that you could be. You start becoming aware of that, and this awakening happens. And so for me, the awakening started just 4 years ago when my family and I changed environment, and we found ourselves in the beautiful state of Colorado. And what a blessing to be able to move there and rehab, essentially. And so that worked out good, and God, showed favor getting us there, showed favor in us, adding two more children to our family. But the change of environment was such a blessing, and it was helpful for my transformation. But for me, and what I've realized now is, without the awareness and without the awakening, there's no transformation happening. There's just hopeful talking, hopeful thinking. I did what the steps that I could take while in a toxic environment. I took some of the steps that I could take, the only steps that I could take while in a toxic environment. And I do realize that not all people have the opportunity to transform their environment in terms of moving away. So if there's ever a moment to when you've had enough and you're able to change environments, I would highly advise anyone to take advantage of that. And I'll go back and say, I really find it hard for anyone to see true transformation without the heightened level of awareness and an awakening. And as I said in the previous episodes and the introduction of this season, transformation, I truly believe that millennial generation are coming into a transformational period. I feel like we've become aware and then left that awareness on the back burner to be numb to what's actually happening in society. But the awareness has been there. And I will say the awakening has happened. Uh, a lot of us, for me, when I realized that I wasn't going back to play college football, uh, that realization hit me like a ton of bricks because that's all I had known. That's all I ever had dreamed to want to do and be is this football player. And it gave me excuses to be the football player, that title. It gave me excuses to, uh, be just the football player, nothing else. But I do think that uh, American society, especially the millennial generation, are coming into a transformational period internally and externally. If you take a look around you, you'll see that there's so much changing with regard to world power, world leadership. Uh, I mean, the world's changing so fast. Yeah, AI technology. There's a lot of transformation happening. Uh, it's interesting to step back and watch it from a consciousness perspective. There's a lot of transformation and change happening, and it's a beautiful thing. I talked about transformation in the opening, how it may be just something natural. That's what I think. I think transformation and the course that we're on is something that's always been inevitable. Consciousness is bringing like light to the transformation on such a large scale. I'm talking, the economy is affected by it. Local and international economies are affected by it. We have these talks of, one world government. We have these talks of, the wealthy bond, excuse me, buying up all the farmland, and there's so much uncertainty and hard to make sense of all this change and transformation that's happening around us. I know for some of us, we get so involved in the external transformation that's happening that we forget about the internal transformation that should be happening according to the external transformation. I mean, seriously, think about it. How do we keep up with the introduction of AI? I mean, obviously, we'll be able to start at the same pace uh, at the starting point, but artificial intelligence is a non-stop learning tool. How do you keep up with that? How do we keep up with this idea of shifting powers? As an American, we've rode this wave of, America being the greatest country in the world. I mean, I still think I believe that. I still think so. I think we'll always be the greatest country in the world, but we have other countries and powers and leaders out there that are like, "Hey, America's lame. This is what they do to their people. There is no real growth or evolving of the American people. It's time to look, you know, for leadership in other places in other countries." How do you argue against that? There's some truth in that, but nonetheless, this is where we're at. The world is transforming, and like I said, I feel like some of us we're so focused on the external that we forget about the internal transformation that should align with the external transformation. I was referred a documentary. Shout out to JP Williams. Uh, we did a book club, and one of the videos in the book club was on the movie of The Century of Self, and I highly recommend you guys YouTube that, The Century of Self. I think that's the name of it, and look at how precise they were into shaping America's now. I mean, we're dealing with some smart mofos out in the world. Some smart people help develop the social plan to America's society today. And when you watch this documentary, you can see it on so many levels, whether it be in media, it be in marketing, whether marketing clothes or food, uh, and it just builds this psyche, this false sense of self psyche that we've been riding. We've been riding this false sense of self wave for decades. But if you watch the documentary, you'll see what I'm talking about there. We've been told to think specific kind of way, and we've been told to learn a specific kind of way. Uh, we've been told why we shouldn't like a certain group. But I think millennials are coming, awakened to some of the bullshit, and we're able to break down reality for ourselves now. We're at the age now when we've questioned things and we've experienced things, and we're breaking things down to make sense of it for ourselves. So, where do we align within all that, right? What do we align within the reaction to the reality? What do you do when you realize that a group of mad scientists helped develop this country and the people in it to think a specific kind of way to be consumers? What do you do with that information? I believe transformation is the next best thing. I think we can engineer ourselves to transform and think differently once we realize that it's been a damn game being played on us. I think it's precise how you operate after you become aware of the bullshit. I believe you become more intentional in your action and your thinking once you become aware to the bullshit. So that's how we got started. We talked about transformation, what it is, who gets it, where does it come from? I think it's again, it's a natural occurrence. I think anybody can have access to transforming their lives. However, I do believe it starts with awareness and awakening. We also got into peace. Again, when you get in, this is just my opinion. Again, I'm not a know-it-all, uh, but when you get into uh, breaking down thyself, you're gonna find some things in that closet that you're not gonna like. And change doesn't happen overnight. Evolving is a slow process, and I feel like that's what we're more along the lines of evolving rather change. And so there's going to be a small process in certain areas, uh, and so we can get overwhelmed into being mad at specific habits that we're wanting to try to change. And once they pop up and we're aware of them, we want to shoot them down in anger and discontent and just madness. And I think, with society and how it's set up, with the deadlines and the goals and the commitments that we have to make, it could become overwhelming when you are in a process of transformation because you're thinking about yourself, but you can't be fully about yourself if you have a family. You're thinking about yourself, but you can't be fully about yourself if you got to go to work to pay for that car note or that gas bill or the rent or the mortgage. And so you're in and out of consciousness because of the American society way, the American way, chasing after the American dream, chasing after that bag, that we forget about peace. And I said often in my episode, peace, no peace. And I say no peace because a majority of us don't even know peace once we have it. A lot of us run from peace because that's when the real thinking starts. But peace is so important to know now and in your afterlife. Peace is mostly internal, but it could be external as well in some areas, in some cases, whether it be with walks, admiring beauty within nature. That's the external piece. But the internal is the acceptance of the reality, um, that things are overwhelmed, I'm tired, I'm beat, I need to go find peace. And that's the external, in my opinion. And when you think of the word transformation, if you can envision transformation, a box of words, peace would be in the box of words of transformation. Peace would be in transformation. And if you're planning a change for your life, a transformation for your life, I truly believe one must know peace. One must need peace in times of being overwhelmed. I truly believe that if we avoid peace in those difficult times, then we'll result back to our old ways. We'll result back to handling difficult times like we did in the past. I know for me, the way that I handled peace was by getting high or leaving my family instead of turning on peaceful music, trying to get everyone to calm down whenever things are chaotic. I would just get in the car and go look for a hit or go and enjoy a hit or go somewhere where there were no kids or no wife, with expectations, which we'll get into that in a different episode. But those are all things that for me should have been important that weren't. Family, my wife's expectations, my kids' expectations, those should have been important to me at a period of my life, but they weren't. I stumbled upon peace by accident, to be honest with you. And once I became conscientious of peace, became more aware of peace and its dynamic and its power and why it's helpful, I remembered those times of accidentally stumbled upon peace. And so, if you haven't already, press pause, go back and listen to the power, or excuse me, the episode Peace and Transformation. We also got into self acceptance. And self acceptance is, different for everyone, but it's the same. Self acceptance is truly weird, just to say the least. But it's cool and it makes sense. I think to myself, how do I accept others if I can't accept myself? Who am I to judge someone else if I haven't put myself underneath the same judgmental scrutiny? To me, self acceptance is bypassing, it's growing above the judgment. To me, self acceptance is growing above the rejecting of others. No one on this planet's perfect, not in behavior, but by design. We are perfectly imperfect people by design and through behavior. We're perfect in what went into making us up as individuals. I needed the right amount of whatever, oxygen, chromosomes, whatever, 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 to go into making up Avery. Sally, John, Mark, Tony, Tyler, Shante, Malik, Miguel, Newton Slayton, whoever you, whatever ethnicity you come from, it took the exact amount of something to go into you into making up who you are. And you're perfect in that manner. But in our behavior, thinking, actions, reactions, we got some work. Some of our vices and the things we like to do, we got some work. But I think there's beauty in that, right? There's so much beautiful um imperfectionists in that. I think it's you know it's it's cool to see for me personally how I evolve into a more mature man when I've done away with my immature habits. I haven't really asked my wife if it's sexy, how much I've evolved into a more mature man, but I think I'm pretty damn sexy for how much I've evolved into a more mature man. And My wife is sexy to me, how much, because of how much she's evolved into a more mature woman. It's sexy to have those flaws because there's an end in mind, right? If you're aware of it, we have these vices and these things that are wrong with us that we do that are in our closet, whether it be personality wise or habit wise. And there may be things that we're conscientious enough about, hey, I need to change this. But until then, this is what it is. But I do think there's that period when, especially as youth, as a kid, you you want to experience things and you want to have fun. This makes you feel good. This and that makes you feel good. But you get, you experiment these things and they become a habit. And then there become this habit that you don't even think about and becomes second nature. But I think we get evolved, we get so involved with that sense of satisfaction and gratification that it yields. We forget that these things are negative. But there becomes a period when we're like, hey, I can change this negative habit. It's not too late, especially if it goes against your partner or it goes against, just the norms. Like, it's okay to want to evolve into that. And it's okay to accept it exactly where you're at. And so to me, self-acceptance is that, the what I am, the who I am, the why do I do it, and the when. Figuring that out, accepting it for what it is, and you might even want to go as far back as thinking like, where did this come from? How did this even enter into my DNA and my realm of thinking? And you get to peel back the onion and go to work. That to me is the fun part of transformation is breaking thyself down and putting thyself back together. And so we talked a little bit about doing that and self acceptance. And most recently, we jumped into ego. Man, how many of us in the world aren't aware of ego, the power of ego, and the dysfunctionality of ego? What it is, what it looks like, how it's perceived or not perceived. Everyone has an ego, and I shared the a resource in the book Eckhart Tolle. Please go pick up Eckhart Tolle. That book, A New Earth. Go pick that up. Great book. And also The Power of Now. That's a beautiful book as well. I've read Eckhart Tolle, listened to Eckhart Tolle. I'm going on my eighth time now, and every time I go into, The Power of Now, every time I go into that, I find something new from it. That's what I love about The Power of Now. There's something that I know I heard it or read it because I've highlighted it, but the sentences before, when did those get put here? You know what I'm saying? It's like, damn, this is something new that I didn't even hear or read last time. And so it's a great book. It's a lot about thyself. Talks a lot about the ego. And um, you know, initially I read his book in 2012, and I was using the drugs real bad, and I'm still able to gain something from that book. And as I evolved into the future, into the moment now, I've read it 7 additional times, but each time I'm able to take those principles, compare them to my own living situation, whether it be the ego, whether it be the self, whether it be the higher self, or whether it be zero thought or being controlled by thought. Those things are real. The collective consciousness, the collective ego, black, white, Chinese, whatever. I feel like you can apply those principles, especially the principles of the ego that Eckhart Tolle talks about in The Power of Now, to your current life and your current community. It's a great book. And the ego, man, it's a sneaky little booger. It's truly like, um, and no, this is no way to be disrespectful, to be disrespectful to anyone, but it's like the deaf, dumb, and blind child. That part of yourself, the young baby self that's been developed at birth to this inflated, oh, cute baby. give the baby what it wants. If the baby don't get what it wants, it knows to cry to get it. In so many cases, the ego can, be created and inflated by your surroundings. And we grow into the future, starting at birth. We grow into the future. We evolve into the future to now. And I like to say most of my conversation I'm having with millennial, but I think every generation can apply Eckhart Tolle's principles to their current generation and age. But as we evolve into the future, this ego is the one that we pay the attention to the most, and we feed into that. And when someone disrespects you, the ego is ready to do whatever. But it's through over time, it's attached itself to our thinking and what we like through culture, through music, through what we don't like, and it attaches itself to that thinking. And within the thinking of the I, like I am, we make that statement, and a lot of times we're not fully clear of what we mean by who I am. We believe that who I am is my culture. We believe that who I am is the rap music. We believe that who I am is the Gucci or the Prada or the Polo or Nike or the Adidas or the Yeezys, or through the I'm mad or I'm sad. That's the ego's way of living and being in control, and is attached through the thinking. It operates through the thinking. And we shut ourselves down, our capabilities of being more, because we are more than those things. When we just only pay attention to the ego, because that's all you can do. It's just going to show up often over time. And all we can do is be aware of it. And then the action post or pre awareness is what we're looking to manipulate or change or evolve or be more in control of. So it's a deep, it's a deep thing, deep conversation to talk about. The ego is, again, everyone has one, but it's so tricky. It it attaches itself to your thinking, and it leads you into believing that you're your culture. It leads you into believing that you're mad. Like that's an actual. How do you become mad? It leads you to believing that this is your life, but there's more to you than the culture. There's more to you than your life. This isn't your life. This is the life that you experience. So when you look at your ego, it's okay to challenge it, especially whenever it's the objective self. When you say, I don't like him because he did that to me, or I don't like that because to me it should sound like this. I think once you break down the me and what you mean by the me, in terms of he did that to me or it doesn't sound good to me, it's okay to ask yourself why. Why does it sound okay to them? Or uh, why am I still holding on to what someone did to me 30 years ago? Why haven't I let go of that? Why have I given that so much of my power? And again, you that's just being aware of the ego. It pops up in everyone's lives. Everyone has one. I think the trick and the balance is in the awareness. And so we touched on the transformation phase in part, uh, and what all goes into, again, let's envision this big box, and and that big box is transformation. What would all go in there, right? What all could we throw in there to make up the word transformation? To me, peace, self-acceptance, ego, all that would go inside of the word transformation. Awareness, awakening, you throw all that in there, and that makes up transformation, in my opinion. So how do we move forward? I feel like moving forward is, again, taking in the and owning thyself. Owning, again, if you're let me stop this real quick. Shout out to the people holding it down that has been holding it down. Shout out to everyone that working at 9 to 5, showing up on time, never had a drug addiction, never really stepped outside of being wild within their habits. They've always been able to help keep their habits in check. I want to give a shout out to the people that have, that are the examples, because there are people out there that are great examples. And I want to thank you for being who you are. You inspire me. However, there are some of us that need and want a life change, and that's okay. I don't see a problem with saying, "Hey, my life is out of control. I need to do something different. My life is out of control. I need to look at how I can, become more in control of my life." And I think that question or those words being said, and you hearing those words being said, is the start of a transformation. You become aware of why you want your life to change. Why are you needing to change your life? To me, the best thing to do is to write it on paper. Um, just seeing it just does something different. It's done something different for me just seeing it. So I would advise anyone who's interested in inner engineering self transformation to write down the why. But moving forward is seeing that why. Moving forward is knowing thyself past the ego, knowing thyself past self acceptance, understanding that peace is in the middle of all of that, and it's important to the transformation. Moving forward is having enough having enough courage to analyze thyself, organize thyself, work to put thyself back together while being aware of the environment. I know for a lot of us, we become numb and we become um, complacent to our environment. Oh, that's, you know, 5 kids get bodied about in a drive-by. Oh, that's just normal. People getting carjacked. Oh, that's normal. Murder, rape, that all has become a normal when all that shit is not normal. Period. And I think the moment that you're able to be honest and with yourself is the moment you'll be able to be honest to your environment and society around you. And you'll soon see that none of the shit around you that evolve that that requires someone's life to be taken, any type of rape, whether it be spying, whether it be physical rape, whether it be again staring in or recording people's data, any of that rape is not normal, but we've accepted it to be normal in American society. I know there are people that move away from their home where that's the only place they've ever known to help change their lives because their environment is so damn toxic. I don't think that should be normal. I don't think anyone should have to leave the land that their ancestors and they've created this energy on should have to leave to rehabilitate themselves. But that's just the way society is, and it's become accepted to be normal. While there are generations of people that live in societies that for you know their time of the age of being able to recognize that the city isn't adequate or the community isn't adequate enough for you to start a family and when you become an adult. There's some people that you know are able to stay in the toxic environment, see it for what it is, and work to make changes, and I applaud those people. I have the utmost respect for people that bite the bullet and work to influence change. And they grow in inside this environment and seeing the change that needs to happen. And so they're working to make change happen. Um, and so environment has a lot to do with evolving in one's development. And so moving forward, I look forward to having some really great guests come on to talk about transformation, what they're currently doing in their community, what they're currently doing in their profession to help people transform their lives, whether it be through, you know, um, a uh, mental health professional, how they're helping children think different, whether it be uh, community leader discussing ways to improve the community, to transform the community, whether it be a uh, uh, what's the word I'm looking for here? Someone that works in, mm, oh damn, what's the word I'm looking for? Someone that works in physical fitness to help people change their health. There's again transformation happening all the time, and there's people advocating for transformation in people's lives every day. And so I want to have them on to talk about transformation. So stay tuned to that. We'll have great guests. Again, the content, the guests that I bring you, we're going to be here in your face moving forward. And I want to go back and I know I missed you guys last week. I've been recovering from a sickness. Everybody in the house is good, thank God. But I want to be here in your face at least every other Friday at the least, and then at the most every Friday. If you want to be a guest on the show, email me at visionarymillennials2, the number two at gmail.com. That's visionarymillennials2, the number two at gmail.com. Hit me up. Let me know you want to come through and chop it up, be a guest on the show. I'd love to discuss transformation. Again, it doesn't have to be like this broad transformation, but if you're an advocate in the community, if you're working to help people transform their lives, um, please hit me up. Visionary Millennials 2, the number two at gmail.com. Again, the outcome is to, inspire, motivate, um, and hopefully enlighten, change, transformation, and to enlighten people because I feel like we've been robbed of most of the living experiences that happen on this planet. There's a lot of us that won't experience things that everyone should have the access to experiencing, in my opinion. And in some cases, we have given up. We've been trapped in certain environments and communities and that don't yield the result or resources that I need or we need to elevate or evolve into another level of living or thinking. And I don't think that the next gen can afford that. So how do we create opportunities for people to have more living experiences that they normally are locked out of? And so that is the outcome that I'm looking for in this season. Talk to the transformation that's happening. Everyone's evolving, especially within my generation. I feel like we are evolving at such a higher rate than the previous generation, thanks to technology. And I think the next generation will evolve at a more faster rate than the millennial generation. And so, what's that going to look like? Who helps set the table for that type of evolvement? And I think we do. Uh, so, moving forward, I think that's what we could have in mind together is how do we uh, help the next gen have more of a smooth evolving process. How do we maintain American dominance? Because I'm a coach and I'm looking at this from the coaching perspective. Like we can't, in my opinion, we can't just lay down. I think we should strive to be great at everything we do, but as a country, we should always strive to be the dopest country in the world. I mean, why not? Like, why are you gonna live here and just like, oh, we are all right country, but now I want to be the dopest country. And so, how do we do that? You know what I mean? And so, moving forward, that's my vision is to how do we become, maintain and be the dopest country in the world. How do we, help those that are looking to transform their lives? Why transformation is important, and I can't wait to have my guest on to talk to transformation from the perspective. Again, if you need to get a hold of me, you can hit me at Visionary Millennials 2, the number two at gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook at Visionary Radio Podcast. If you want to be nosy, super nosy, you can go to my personal page, Avery Fennell and Coach A. Stay tuned, man. I got some really great content coming Got some merch coming. I'll be actually. This is a really cool opportunity for me. I want to share with you guys. I'll be on a panel, uh, Black Masterminds panel in Kansas City, June 16th or 17th through the 18th. So if you got some people up in Kansas City, man, let them know to pull up. I'll share more content or details on that as time goes, right, leading up to the roundtable discussion. But it is a pretty big Black business event held in Kansas City. I've been extended the opportunity to come and talk about um, transformation and economic emancipation. So I look forward to sitting on my first panel with some big dogs. It's going to be a great opportunity. But again, stay tuned. I can't wait for this next journey. I'm gonna be in your face, guys. I have some interviews lined up. Can't wait to share those with you. I've already done two. I've got a couple more scheduled here in the next couple weeks. Great people. Just stay tuned. Got some special guests coming in this season. Again, we're going to rock this out all the way until September. Take a dead period during the fall and winter, and then bring it back during spring and summer again. So let's ride this way together. Let's grow together, and don't forget, everyone has vision. The question is, who are you, and what are you looking for? Love you guys. I'm out.